Go. Ladies and gentlemen, Busoga's vote is no longer emotional, it's now transactional and survival oriented. For the first time in decades, Busoga is now voting not for the stomach but for the chest, in terms of poverty, unemployment, land security, declining household incomes as the driving force. So any candidate who dares not to speak the language of the livelihood is actually already disqualified. My name is Isaac Christopher Lubogo. Welcome to Gyeene, where we have a dispensation of some political issues concerning Busoga. Now, the politics of kingship and cultural pride are now more than party colors. The restoration of the Chavazinga institution is at the center of the gravity in terms of the respect for Chavazinga becomes a political currency for now. In Busoga, legitimacy flows through what they call the Genge Hill. So therefore, the respect of the Chavazinga institution earns listening. And those of you who are seeking votes in Busoga, be ye aware. Youth demographics will actually determine everything. Busoga is one of the youngest sub-regions in Uganda. Over 65% of the voters are actually under 35 years. That means that youth unemployment is among the highest national social concern of this country. And this has caused a lot of political destabilization because the youth need to eat. Now, the youth are also tired of speeches. They want skills. And they also, they are filled up with digital opportunities. And these digital opportunities multiply so fast, and therefore they can be able to know what's happening in the nation or in the kingdom at any time. The aspect of sugar economy is also one of the heartbeat of Busoga. It controls the vote. Jinja, Luuka, Kaliro, Iganga, Mayuge, Buyende, Namayingo all depend heavily on sugarcane. And therefore, this becomes a fundamental factor in terms of the issuing shapes of the votes of Busoga. Low cane prices must come handy. Delayed payments must be addressed. Land conflict with sugar estates must be addressed. Collapse of the outgrower model has to be addressed as well. Listen, sugarcane is not only agriculture, it is politics. It's economy and survival wrapped into one stock. So you have to comprehend that. Ye who looks for the vote in Busoga. Ladies and gentlemen, Busoga is entering what they call a protest vote era. For nearly 40 years, Busoga voted yellow out of loyal gratitude and fear of instability. But the era is fading. Listen, drivers of the protest mode are concerned particularly because of what they call youth frustration. They're concerned because of income inequality. They're concerned because of visible state neglect. They're concerned because of losing the industrial age Jinja, for example, once had. So these are fundamental aspects that are concerning the people of Busoga today. So when a region feels invisible, it votes loudly. That is something that you must comprehend. We also want to talk about something else that is important for the people of Busoga. The so-called spiritual and Pentecostal wave that is shaping the new political terrain in terms of the political networks in Busoga. Busoga has one of the highest concentration of evangelical churches, by the way, in terms of apostolic movements and in terms of charismatic youth groups, for example. All these are fundamental in terms of affecting the people of Busoga today. Pastors now command influence where LCs once actually had, a dominance of sorts. So it's important for you to address their demands or their concerns. So the pulpit is now part of the political supply chain, and you cannot ignore that in this so-called kingdom of Busoga. Listen, my friends, we could also talk about some other fundamental aspects that have to affect the political vote in Busoga. The northern Choga belt, that the likes of Buyende, Kaliro, and Kamuli, now are commanding what they call the new swing vote. Historically ignored, this belt now determines who is going to rule Busoga. So one of the reasons is because they have large populations. Yes, they have a high youth ratio. And these are fundamental aspects in terms of relating, in terms of culminating into political votes. They have a big growing political competition in these areas. They are less tied to historical NRM structures, and therefore they are very important. They cannot be ignored anymore. And the important thing is that the center of Busoga politics has actually shifted northwards in terms of that belt that I just made allusions to. So it's very important for us to keep an eye and wonder and ask ourselves, how do we address that problem? Listen, Jinja is the intellect battlefield, but the rest of the Busoga area becomes an emotional battlefield. Yeah? And therefore, Jinja chooses based on what they call urban development. Yes? In terms of jobs, that is something that's fundamental for the people of Jinja, and in terms of infrastructure, and in terms of corporate presence, for example. Those are aspects that drive the people in the Jinja city. And in terms of policy discourses, for example, All those become fundamental in terms of addressing and the challenges of Jinja as a city. And in terms of rural Busoga chooses based on what they call social welfare, in terms of cultural belonging, in terms of survival economics. And therefore, these become also drivers in terms of harnessing who is going to take the lion's share when it comes to political dispensation come 2026 of the political dispensation of this country. Now, listen, if you win Jinja's mind and Kamuri's heart, you will actually win the region, this so-called wonderful region of Busoga. And that becomes extremely important in terms of the discourse that I'm trying to discuss with you. But another important aspect that affects the people of Busoga in terms of the vote is what the women MPs, who are quite giants, they mobilize even better than men. Busoga has enjoyed women MPs that have built quite a CV of sorts. They have bigger welfare networks, they've got church alliances, they've got youth circles, they've got women associations, they've got voter loyalty structures. All these play into the voter's mind, and all these things are fundamentally important. We all know who the likes of these women can be. So in Busoga, the most powerful mobilizer is often not the man with the microphone, but the woman with these social groups which can be able to ferment, but also to mobilize other people in terms of garnering substantive political support for the party. Yes. And then we also have what we call clan identity and chieftain memories that are quietly resurfacing. Yeah, the Busogas are reawakening the prides of talk about the Ziwondo of Vulamoji, talk about the Wakoli, talk about Gabula, talk about Ngobi, etc. Clan gatherings now influence voter direction. Lineage politics is soft, but it is real. So you cannot ignore that. Yeah, clan pride is not loud, but quietly shapes the reality in terms of the political dispensation of the people in Busoga. So you who want to seek for the vote in Busoga, be ye aware. Busoga's vote will follow whoever gives a believer in terms of redemption narratives. Yeah, if you can believe and give the people the belief that they have in terms of redemption narrative, then you're gonna have it. Busoga wants hope. Busoga wants dignity. Busoga wants jobs. These are fundamental, and Busoga also wants fundamental functional health centers. Yeah, Busoga wants urban renewal. These are aspects that we need. Busoga wants youth programs that actually work, respect for their cultural institutions. All these aspects must augur well with the people who are seeking the votes in terms of garnering their support for their political, survival in the kingdom of Busoga. You cannot buy Busoga's vote. You can only inspire, and these things are fundamentally important when we talk about them in a dispensation like this. So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are looking for Busoga in terms of the vote, 2026 in Busoga will not be decided by simple factors. There are majorly three factors. As I said, number one, youth and employment wave. Number two, sugar economic crisis. And then number three, the Chabazinga-ship, national respect, and institutional well-being. That is fundamental in terms of controlling who is going to take the key or the bread in the political bread of Busoga. So any politician who ignores even those three will lose Busoga as an institution. So this is important for those of you who are garnering or trying to look for the support in the likes of, trying to stamp their presence. But Busoga, ladies and gentlemen, is no longer a political backyard. It is a battleground. It's a battleground, and old guarantees are actually dead. The voter is actually unpredictable. They're actually aware. They're discontented, and they want their cake. Busoga has actually moved from blind loyalty to selective what? To selective loyalty. They're now interested in selective loyalty. They now know what they want. It's not a question of gyamera, gyeene. It's a question of putting bread, butter on my table. So in terms of final dispensation, Busoga is not asking for much. It's only asking for dignity, opportunity, and recognition. So whoever restores the soul of Busoga inherits its vote. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Christopher Lubogo. Find our works at lubogo.org and suegenerationlaw.com. Thank you.